Hi guys, Horus the Sky God Phil. Today we're going to be doing another scary challenge. Terrifying demons you should never Google or else. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Rip the insides out of their still living victims, spread disease, and cause night terrors.
These are some of the most terrifying demons from around the world you'll be praying you never come face to face with.
Who do you have to blame when you're sick, other than the person who got you sick, that is? Well, if you know anything about ancient Sumerian mythology, and like blaming demons for your problems, then a sag may be responsible for your 14th trip to the toilet in the span of a day. A sag is a pretty nasty demon said to cause sickness. He's a hideous creature born from the underworld. So busted looking is he that his presence alone is said to make fish in the rivers boil, and one glimpse at the entity can cause people to fall sick and die on the spot. What's worse is that he doesn't come alone. He has an entire army of demonic offspring at his back, but how did he manage to procreate, being that people can't even look at him without dropping dead? Well, Asag didn't make love with people, he had his offspring with the mountains themselves, all the mountains in the world. So his sons and daughters are part hideous demon, part hideous rock creature.
If you've ever seen Game of Thrones, I have a feeling you're gonna like this next one. It's called a Draugr, and honestly you'd have a hard time convincing me that it wasn't the inspiration behind White Walkers. The demon comes from Nordic folklore. It's an ancient undead monster known to rise up from its grave and attack the living. Oh, and it's most active at night and in the winter. Sound familiar? When a person dies and is buried in the ground, it is believed that they will turn into a Draugr if they either practice black magic, were executed, died an accidental death, or were buried outside a churchyard. I know, it's a broad spectrum and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that is the criteria according to the Nordic folklore. Along with attacking the living, Draugrs have been known to climb onto the top of people's homes and stomp on their roofs to keep them from getting a good night's rest. If a person inside the home becomes restless and decides to leave their house, this demon will kill them. Quite easily, might I add, because they are incredibly strong. When there are no humans around, these Game of Thrones-esque zombie demons have also been known to eat livestock and tear apart fences and barns. Oh, and one more thing, the only way to kill them is to cut their heads off, burn them, and then scatter their ashes in the ground. It's a process, but probably worth it considering how aggressive these particular demons tend to be.
The Agitar is not an entity you want to run into. Much like a sag, just the sight of her alone can cause you to drop dead. Agitar comes from Finnish mythology, known not only as the devil of the woods, but the mother of the
happiest country in the world, nigga.
Is incredibly ugly and evil, spreading diseases and pestilence wherever she goes, and she often takes the form of a serpent. She's accompanied by them as well, and some stories even say she can control them. Snakes come up a lot in ancient myths about demonic entities. Unsurprisingly, people still fear snakes today, but especially back in the day, snakes were often seen as symbols of evil and poison in cultures across the world. People in ancient Finland believed Agitar could bring bad luck and misfortune just by being near. She was blamed for all sorts of problems, from poor harvests to outbreaks of sickness. If things started going wrong, it was said that Agitar was probably lurking nearby, making life difficult just for the sake of it.
In Japanese folklore, there is something called yokai,
Agitar
which
might be one of the 73 demonic forces of Goetia.
Translated means strange apparitions. They are a class of supernatural entities and spirits whose behavior can range from benevolent and kind to mischievous, all the way to malevolent and incredibly dangerous. One such malevolent and dangerous yokai is the Rokurokubi, the apparition of a woman with sharp teeth, a taste for human flesh, and a neck that can stretch out of her shoulders and slither around the room like a 50-foot-long
Creating content shouldn't be this complicated. And with Riverside,
One nurse, we'll call her Jackie, shared an encounter with a Rokurokubi, claiming that she had been attacked by one while working at a hospital in Japan. One night, one of Jackie's patients called her over to say that a woman wearing a red kimono had been standing beside her bed the whole night, but she couldn't see the woman's face because it had been covered with long black hair. The next night, a different patient told Jackie almost the same thing, except this time, the woman's neck was stretched up so high that her head was touching the ceiling. ceiling. The nurse wasn't convinced, and the hospital wing she was working at was pretty much empty, so she decided to lay down for a quick cat nap. She awoke to a phone call from her mother in the middle of the night who said, "Honey, are you okay? I had a terrible dream that you fell asleep at the hospital, and a creepy woman was watching you as you slept." Upon hearing this, Jackie dropped her phone, and when she went to pick it up, she saw 2 feet underneath her bed. And when she looked up, the outstretched neck of a woman smiling from ear to ear with dead eyes and razor-sharp teeth.
Okay,
I guess
that's
Jackie fainted
creepy.
because
I gotta tell that story to somebody.
the next thing she knew, she woke up surrounded by hospital staff. She quit her job that day and hasn't returned to the hospital since. And honestly, I don't blame her.
I was just about to say
Covered in
that.
goosebumps just from reciting the story. I couldn't
Listen,
imagine
guys,
living it.
if you come encounter with any of these entities, you gotta take a spiritual bath. Get some frankincense soap, lavender soap,
There are tons
burn
of
some
these
sage in
creatures
the
and
bath,
entities that
in
fall
the shower,
under
and
yokai
take a
umbrella in
spiritual
Japanese
shower
folklore.
bath.
They include
Burn some
demons,
sage in the
ghosts,
shower.
monsters, and there's loads of types of each. The
And
Enko are
use
river-dwelling
the
yokai
lavender
resembling
or
monkeys.
frankincense
Don't let their
soap.
appearance deceive you into thinking the worst they'll do is
Get
play
some
a little
Himalayan
trick on you,
pink
though.
salt.
These are some violent,
Get some bay
sadistic
leaves.
animals right
That
here,
should protect
and
you from
tales about them
demonic
get
entities.
very graphic.
Shower like
Enko are
that.
said to live in rivers and along the seashore. They're kind of like Kappa, who are more like turtle creatures, but these ones are way worse. They're excellent swimmers, and if you happen to come across one while taking a dip, it's probably going to be game over for you in worst way. Caesars love eating human liver, fresh human liver. Their method of obtaining it, shoving their arm right up their victim's rear end and pulling it out. The worst rectal exam you'll
Wait, they pull what out?
pulling it out. Shoving their arm right up their victim's rear end and pulling it out. The worst human liver, fresh human liver. Their method of obtaining it, shoving their arm right up their victim's rear end and pulling it out. The worst rectal exam you'll ever
Painful,
receive.
too.
Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night only to discover that you can't move your arms or legs? Not only that, but you can't seem to muster up the ability to make a sound, and so when you see a dark, scraggly demon lurking at the foot of your bed or sitting directly on top of you, all you can do is sit there and stare at it, feeling nothing but pure terror. Well, if you have, it sounds like you've been visited by a Phi Am. The Phi Am has its roots in Thai folklore, where it is believed to be the lesser-known cause of the well-known phenomenon of sleep paralysis. Phi Ams have been known to sit on their victims' chests in the middle of the night, restricting their movement and instilling fear into their souls, and, in extreme cases, crushing their lungs entirely and taking their lives. It is said that the creature tends to haunt men more than women, and so in some places where the demons are more common, men have actually been known to don traditional women's bedtime clothing to avoid being haunted by the demon.
Nigga, you wearing women's bedtime clothing?
Not having your lungs crushed.
The Alp is a creepy creature from German folklore, and it's the stuff of nightmares. Literally, known for causing horrible nightmares. The Alp is said to sit on its victims' chests in the middle of the night, causing the sleeper to wake up in a panic, unable to breathe or move as they're crushed under the weight of the creature. Yes, this is another sleep paralysis demon. The Alp is usually described as a small elf-like being, but it can shape-shift into other forms, usually animals like cats, dogs, or snakes. It's also said to sometimes ride a horse. The Alp also wears a special cap that gives it the power to become invisible, sneak into people's homes on the scene. This is just another one of the many demonic entities people used to try and explain sleep paralysis back in the day.
Stop asking research questions to ChatGPT. Its answers are not reliable, and they are difficult to be fact-checked. It's just not meant for research. But Liner is different.
Oh, really?
Unlike ChatGPT, Liner can...
And when people would wake up feeling terrified, unable to move, with a heavy pressure on their chest, having a hallucination of something sitting on top of them or lurking at the foot of their beds, it's no wonder people thought there were malevolent demons roaming around in the night. I can only imagine how horrifying it would have been to grow up around this time. I mean, I've had sleep paralysis, and if my mother told me that it was thanks to a demon, I would just never go to bed again.
The Mongolian deathworm demon is honestly
Oh,
gross.
God, what is
It's gross. It's gross to look at, it's gross to think about, and yet here I am talking about it to you because I respect you enough to know You are brave enough to handle the gross demon worm, and I'm proud of you for that. Now, while many zoologists believe that the idea of the Mongolian demon worm comes from an exaggeration of real snake and worm sightings, Mongolian locals to this day claim otherwise, and many of them say that they have actually seen this giant creature for themselves and just narrowly escaped its vicious attack. You see, Mongolian death worms are said to have a large circular row of incredibly sharp teeth and venom that acts like acid. My advice, if you're in Mongolia, avoid the desert, and maybe you will make it out alive.
This demon is about as evil and demonic as a demon can be. Lamashtu, another demon from Sumerian and Mesopotamian mythology. An entity with the head of a lion,
73 demons of
long, sharp
Goetia.
talons and claws like a bird. Lamashtu really doesn't have any redeeming qualities. Some of her hobbies include, but are not limited to, messing with women while they're pregnant, kidnapping newborns, sucking out men's BLOOD, infesting lovers' legs,
BLOOO.
spreading disease, sickness, in
SEMEN.
general, ruining
Sounds like,
crops,
oh,
and
no,
giving
no,
people
no.
nightmares. Lamashtu was so terrifyingly evil that people would often try to ward her off with the help of another demon, Pazuzu, Lamashtu's arch nemesis. The Batman to her Joker, the He-Man to her Skeletor. The list goes on. You get my point.
Imagine, you're walking home one night, it's dark, and you're all alone. All of a sudden you look up and realize you're standing face to face with the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. She has piercing eyes, shiny black hair, and then she starts to smile, exposing 2 rows of red-stained, razor-sharp teeth. You fall backwards to see that something is missing: her body. This woman isn't a woman at all, just a floating head with half a neck and a trail of guts and organs hanging out. You have stumbled across a Karasu hungry for human flesh. There are many different stories regarding the origin of this creature, who hunts at night and then returns to her headless body in the morning to go about her day indistinguishable from any other woman except for her tired expression. The most popular is that the Karasu was a princess living in Cambodia in the 15th century who was engaged to a prince but in love with someone else, a commoner. Eventually she was caught in her affair and sentenced to death by fire. She consulted a witch who cast a spell of protection for the young princess, but unfortunately the spell didn't kick in until the fires had almost reached the young woman's head. Other stories claim that the demon is a woman who broke a deal with another demon, or a woman who made a grave mistake while practicing black magic. However she came to be, people in Thai culture say that those who consult with demons or practice similar magic are doomed to meet the same fate as the princess when they die.
Have you been unfortunate enough to meet one of these demons in person?
I have not. Have you?
Share your own thoughts and experiences.
I've been fighting them just to make this video. You know the drill. All power to the multi-celestial angelic beings, and remember, chaos is everything. And may chaos reign within you forever and ever, brothers and sisters. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.